Hey, welcome back to Mycrodex. We're finding about our Pokemon, and today we're going to be looking at a few things. So, in a previous video, I mentioned that we are going to be collecting spore prints instead of cloning cultures for long-term storage, and today I have a lion's mane spore collection to share with you guys. This is a strain I've been growing out for like a little like over 4 years now, so it's very consistent. It's been giving me great yields, no senescence really, but I really wanted to make sure that I don't lose that culture for any reason, so I'm collecting spores of it now, and we're actually going to be breeding it out in this video. We're going to be doing a spore swab, and then we're going to take it to some petri dishes that we also made in a previous video. There's a link in the description to how to pour agar plates, and it's super easy. But yeah, there's a video for that in case you guys need to know how to do that. Now, this spore print is still a little wet, so I'm gonna leave it out, and we're gonna fast forward in time to go look at something else. So this is a tub of straw that is colonized by a sporeless oyster, and I'm using this for a few reasons. I wanted to, I just started playing around with straw, and I wanted to see like if I can get away with just pasteurizing it instead of sterilizing it, and it's been doing really well with the pasteurization. As you can see there, got full colonization there. The picture or the video before was maybe like 90%. This is more like 98%, and no contamination. I did a video where we made this, and yeah, it's looking really good. And you can see there are some pins there. Those aren't like the true fruit. This is just like excess energy that it's letting off because it's colonized everything. But yeah, so what I'm pretty much gonna do is I'm not trying to fruit these really. I'm just using them as a way to keep some moisture around in the tub, so that like if I just put water in there, it would contaminate and it would smell bad. But if the mycelium are locking onto the water, then I can kind of keep it around for weeks and weeks without it spoiling or anything. And so I'm going to use the moisture that they're holding on to help propagate another block. So I'm not even really using the mycelium to fruit or anything, just to hold on to the water. And then I have this wine cap block, which is something you would typically bury in the ground and then wait a few months to grow. And I'm just gonna see what happens. I also put a shiitake block in here later too, because they like the same kind of conditions. So we're gonna see what happens with that. And I also did the same kind of deal with some cocoa coir, some CVG, and this is also oyster on CVG. Oysters typically like wood, but I'm doing this to show that oysters will pretty much grow on anything that holds water, including this CVG or the straw. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. And now we're gonna fast forward to today. As mentioned a little earlier, we're going to be using some petri dishes we made in a previous video that have been sitting around. These are like a month old or so, and we're going to be germinating some spores, not only from the lion's mane towards the end of the video, but the main thing is I spoke of Ganoderma ravenelli a long time ago, and we were trying to save a culture. It was like, oh, we're saving this culture, we're trying to isolate it. Well, that culture was gone pretty much. There was nothing but like a mold in there. But I was digging through some stuff, and I found a spore swab of the ravenelli, and I was like, what in the heck? I don't even remember taking this. It said like that was in April, so literally that's probably from 2022. So that thing is like 4 years old. 4-year-old spore swab. But before we get into that, I'm showing off a few different other projects. Well, this is kind of like normal for me. You have some lion's mane grown in a Ziploc, and it was sealed, and it filled the whole bag out with delicious lion's mane. And you could just set and forget it when you do it like this. And I waited so long that it came out of the filter patch that we made, which is a good sign that it's time to harvest it. So I'm gonna eat that soon. And what I do is usually I'll just let it finish the fruit on the outside. I'll put it in the tent, let it fruit, then I'll take the fruit off of there, and then I'll take the fruit from the inside, and then you have like a good pound or more. And hey, it's the Rhodotus palmatus again. So in this bag is pretty unique, and it shows just how voracious the Rhodotus palmatus can be if you ferment the block first. Because I was reading up on this. There's a lot of studies going on. Well, there's a few studies going on with the Rhodotus palmatus right now. The wrinkled peach, and it shows that they consume fungi to create the fruiting body. And so what I did is fermented the block. I fermented the wood, so that there would be a lot of yeast in there, and then I had it colonize and fruit. And it hasn't fruited yet. This is just excess pins, just like with the oyster in the box. But once I actually introduce this to air later, they're gonna explode into some big, beautiful pink fruit. One of my favorites to look at, honestly. Very unique fruiting bodies. But yeah, we're gonna get started in a sec. I've been staggering some videos just because of the old beetle thing taking over my life. But I'm coming back. Like, even that cup on the right is a beetle. There's a beetle in there. And the bag I'm holding is just another sporeless oyster on straw in a bag. You can see they're doing really good in there. I pasteurized that too. I just boiled it for like 3 hours, and yeah, you can see it definitely works. So if you don't have a sterilizer, but you buy some grain spawn and then you need substrate, you could definitely buy like a big bale of straw for like 10 bucks and grow like dozens of pounds of fungi from that. It's super easy too. All right, cleaning up the space now. I think we're ready for some inoculations. So I'm gonna spray down the area, make sure everything is good to go. These cups, as I said before, have been sitting out for like a month, right where I pulled them from, beside my flow hood. And you know, there's a lot of like airflow being pulled into that area, so it could be a little dusty. So as I do with all of my materials, I always spray them with isopropyl alcohol first to sanitize them so I don't contaminate my work, just from opening the cups. And here I'm spraying that because it's like been sitting in a box for 4 years, and I'm just trying. I sprayed it, but the back is like paper, so you don't really want to spray it too much. It'll bleed through. So I just gave it a little swipe. Now I can see like there's spores like sprinkled all through, like up and down where the Q-tips or the swabs are sitting. And I was like, oh, that might be interesting later. But we're just gonna do like some basic swabs, just like so. So all we really want to do is touch the sterile swabs that have the spores in the tip to the agar plate, and we're gonna do like a couple different streaks, and try to leave some room on the plate for them to work it out, because there's definitely going to be some contamination. None of these spore prints are sterile, and that's on purpose. It's very difficult to collect spores in a completely sterile way, especially if the fruit aren't being grown in a sterile way, which they aren't. But once you get to a certain comfortability of doing this, contamination is always expected, and with spore germinations there's a lot of activity, so you can bank on them getting away from the bacteria. Especially, there are lots of different methods of doing that, like how I took the Q-tip and buried it inside of the agar. That's it's kind of like trenching, where we're gonna put the spores beneath the surface and have them work their way out, and the bacteria isn't really good at moving that well, so it'll stay trapped down there. just like so. And then we're going to hope that the mycelium pull themselves out, reveal themselves on the surface, and then we'll definitely be taking samples from these cups and moving them to other cups just to make sure that the propagation is fully successful and that we can move them on to the next stage, which would be grain. We'll move them on to sterile grain to bolster them up, and then we'll take them back to the normal substrate, which is wood. Yeah, easy stuff. My hands were like all up in there, but man, this is like my last Hail Mary. I've been trying to get this thing going. What happened to the culture got frozen, as that does happen sometimes. It was too high up in the fridge, and I was working out of like a mini fridge for the cultures, just so it's like close to my work setup. And like, I'll never make that mistake again, which is why I'm going over to Spores now. But pretty unfortunate. But yeah. So now I'm like getting really like creative with it. I'm not really concerned about the contamination at this point. I'm just like, okay, let's get all the spores, because these are valuable. Let's tap them in there, and let's even like fold the paper backwards and touch it onto the agar plate, because this is reishi. Like, if it does germinate, I'll definitely be able to get it out, because it's so crazy voracious. It's gonna like it'll eat bacteria, it'll eat contamination if it comes out and gets established well enough. So you can see the spores are like sitting right there in the middle. Good stuff. Now, like, this isn't like normal. Like, I don't normally like touch the plate and like use my hands to like really get up in the plate, but this is a really like unique case. I really just want to get it going. I've been staggering on this for a little bit because I was nervous about it, but I actually feel pretty good about a good few of those inoculations. So we'll see what happens. That's why we experiment, to see like what is possible. Obviously, like, doing it the right way is going to work, but not everyone can really do that. Especially if you're working out of like a still air box, this would be like super sketch. All right, but we're back to the lion's mane spore print, and I pulled out a fresh sterile swab, and you'll see how I handle it in a mostly sterile way. As long as I'm not touching the white cotton swab on the end, it should be totally good. We're just gonna be swabbing that and then touching it to the agar plate like so. So you guys saw at the beginning of the video how these spores were collected. So now that the plate or the foil is dry, I can swab it up, and then I'm going to just touch the agar, and then hopefully in like a couple days we'll see some activity, and we'll be able to grow a offspring of the lion's mane I've been growing from the beginning. It was like one of the very first lion's mane that I ever found. It was actually the first that I ever found, and it's been like outperforming everything that I've come across. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much, we're coming towards the end of this video, but yeah, I'm trying not to flood you guys too much with the beetle content. I know it's like it's pretty new, and while it is connected to all this, I understand it's like very different. So I'm very cognizant of that. Just making sure you guys know, like, the fungi aren't going anywhere. None of what I'm doing with the beetles would be possible without the fungi, because the beetles are like eating the fungi. So definitely need the fungi for all of this to work. So we'll be going back and forth, And hey, if you made it this far into the video, appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like and follow button. And I'll tell you, since you made it this far, I have my eye on some adult beetles. Like right now we only have the larvae, the worms, but I'm trying to get the full circle so that we can enjoy the whole process like through and through. And I'm very close to being able to get some adult beetles. I have some stuff working in the background. There's some breeders that I've been talking to. And also this weekend, it's Monday right now. This weekend, there's a reptile expo, and I've never been to one, but I hear that sometimes they have exotic beetles. So that would be really cool. Or maybe like some kind of insect that is not too difficult to breed. Could bring it into the channel and share that process with you guys. But yeah, we're trying to make some complex soil and learn some soil science because that is extremely important, especially these days. So super excited. Just wrapped up the lion's mane spore print there, so I can always come back to it later. We can make babies whenever we want now for the lion's mane. And we have the Rhodotus palmatus already spore printed. We didn't propagate that yet, but we will, and that's gonna be dope. So yeah, look forward to more breeding projects. I will catch you guys really soon. I'm probably gonna drop multiple videos this week, YouTube videos this week, so stay tuned. Like and follow as usual. If you're not following over on Instagram, make sure you do that, and I'll see you guys soon.